Hi, this is Susanna Magenheimer, also known as Random Artist 222. My goal today is to take you on an art adventure as I explore a new product from Prima called Icing Paste. My goal in this video is not to create a professional finished product, but to show you my process of how I investigate new products. Finnabar for Prima Marketing creates loads of wonderful products, but this icing paste has really taken me on an art adventure. There are loads of colors, as you can see here, beautiful turquoises, golds, pinks, ambers, just loads of wonderful colors. I hope they continue to make more. I consider these almost like a duochrome color. They have like a subtle undertone highlight, which is very cool. So you can see it here where this ruby has a burgundy undertone. It's just really gorgeous and luxurious. Here are some of the colors I put down on a piece of paper so you can see: amber, turquoise, vintage gold, white gold, silver, which is almost like a smoky color. I just love that one. There's a ruby, an amber, a rose gold, and a mother of pearl. I'm going to try to show you various ways you can use these besides the typical ways, such as creating skins with them, texturizing the skins, creating embellishments, using stencils in an unusual way, and then also a paint skin on paint skin technique. And as you can see here, I'm just trying to show you the texture technique that I will be showing a little later how I create it, but I just wanted you to see these colors and how amazing they look. This is another form of skins. This is just laid down on some silicone mat, and I wanted to show you here how light it is, but how easy it is to manipulate it. You can fold it upon itself and it won't glue onto itself. Like if you did an acrylic paint skin, that would be impossible to do because it would just stick to itself and you could never undo it. These you can reposition. You can create different layers within them. As I'm showing you here, there's like a dark and then it goes to a light. And as long as there's some of the icing on there, it'll pull off as a whole entire unit if you're careful as you tease it back. And I will be showing you how to do that a little later on. Again, that's the silver. It's gorgeous. It reminds me of smoke. This one is an angelfish that I'm going to show you a little bit later how I created, as well as that little fairy up there. And this is how I create the skins. I use my favorite spatula. It has a nice little short edge on it, which allows me to get different levels of texture as I bring the paint along the surface. I have several of these little silicone mats that I use because I can set it aside to dry. By setting it aside to dry this way, I don't use up the space on my actual working surface, so I can keep going. You can also use a gift card to create the skins. It's up to you as to what you want to use for that. There's so many ways to use these icing pastes, and here I'm showing you a couple of them. One is paint skin on paint skin. Basically, I layered it on there after the skin dried, and then I stenciled over that. I'll show you a close-up of that later on. So here I am taking my spatula and applying some of the icing, and it's just randomly how you pull it across the little mat as to what effect you want to get with it. Again, remember, as long as there's a connection, even the slightest connection where you think it's so thin it's not gonna peel back, it actually will, but you just have to, like I said, tease it back really easily or carefully so that you can get the entire skin to come off as almost one piece. So here I am just showing you how thin you can get it, and I'll be showing you the after product in a few slides. This little embellishment, I like to call my surprise stencil technique, because it's an entire piece, i.e. the angelfish is one piece, there's no broken pieces to it. I'm able to create my own embellishments. And in this case, I'm going to use a butterfly stencil to show you how different sizes work really well with this technique. So basically, again, I lay it down on a little mini silicone mat, and you need the silicone mat because that allows it to release easily from the backing. And then in one stroke, you want to always take it one direction. So in this case, it's from up to down. Don't keep going backwards or you're going to get seepage. Although icing has been surprisingly very easy on using with stencils. So I just try to take off as much excess as I can, and then I pull it back. And there you see the little butterfly embellishments as soon as they dry. And again, I can easily set this aside to dry. And I'm also showing here how don't lose that excess paint. What I did was got an index card. I have a stack of them by my desk, and I just wiped any excess off onto the index card and end up with these cool little background butterflies that, you know, as I go along, I just keep adding to the index card, and it eventually becomes its own art piece. These are textured skins that I was able to create with the icing, and they're very delicate, but at the same time very strong. This is a texture matte silicone again because of the easy release and the fact that air goes around it and it's flexible, so it allows it for drying, but it depends on your climate as well. You can find these on Amazon, usually in the cooking department. And again, here I am just applying the icing onto the silicone mat. I want some of those ridges to show through to get the effect that I'm trying to get when you see the end project. So again, as thick as you want or as thin as you want, as long as it's connected, most of that will come up when I release it later on. I will be showing how that all comes together. This is a silicone mat as well, but this one's a little different. This is thicker, it's deeper. It's not, it doesn't look deep, but because it's a few millimeters deep, I consider it deep. It would take about 5 hours to dry completely. So I'm just showing you here how I apply the icing into the crevices, and basically it's a smooshing technique. I just keep trying to pull back the icing into the spaces so that I feel like there's a point where I can't put any more icing into those wings. And even that excess, don't worry about it, because after it dries and you pull it out, that stuff just either pulls off or you can trim it so easily with scissors. It's one thing I really like about this product. So here are the 4 examples, and now they've dried, and I'm going to be pulling them apart. And you can see I wanted some spacing to show between those scales, as I call the koi scales. And see how easy that pops up? That's exactly how it pops. No photographic manipulation. And then I wrapped it around a bottle just to show you how easily and flexible this stuff is. And look at that color. Isn't that crazy pretty? And look, it even stuck onto the bottle. I mean, you need to glue it, but it's really nice that this stuff is such a wonderful product to use. So many ways. Here I'm showing you on the thick stencil or thick silicone mold, and see I'm pressing down onto it so that I can, and it comes by just learning by trying. You want to just make sure there's no squishiness underneath, so that would lead you to believe that it's still wet underneath there. And if it feels hard, like I just tapped, then you're probably pretty good. If not, just start pulling it back really gently, and you can see it starts to just come off on its own. And if there is still a wet paste underneath, just push it back down and leave it alone for a while and let it completely harden. As you can see, I can just pull those little extras away, and I think at one point I just decided to put them to the side because I'm just going to trim them with scissors later on. It is a very durable product, so I like that about this. It's not flimsy at all. And look how beautiful and detailed those dragonfly wings are. It's crazy. It's just gorgeous. Yes, I'm holding it upside down, and I realize that, but I use some opal wax, again from Prima Marketing, to highlight the wings, and I'll show you that a little later on too. Now here I'm showing just the paint skin, as I call it. This is how you would do an acrylic skin with acrylic paint. But again, totally different fabric. Paint skin acrylic will just, you know, fold onto itself and glue onto itself, and it's very hard to work with. But this just, you know, pulls off beautifully. It doesn't stick to itself. I use an index card as I'm pulling them off just so it retains its shape. It's dry, but it lets it completely cure. And then I'm pulling off the larger skin, and as you can see, look at those delicate thin spots. They're just coming off together with the thicker spots, and that allows for that gradient texture that you can get when you glue this down onto paper. You can see through it and have other colors pop through it, or words or whatever. So again, I'm just putting it here to set up. Now once I lay it down on the index paper, I can show you, look at those gradients. Not my most perfect work, but at least I'm trying to show you here how you can create this amazing texture. Look at the color too. It's just beautiful stuff to work with. Now, one thing I thought about, and one of my Instagram friends had mentioned to me, is throwing this through an embossing folder. So you don't want to ever put wet icing in your embossing folder. You always want to use it dried. One, it'll gush out everywhere and ruin your machine. So always use a dry paint skin, or icing skin in this case. And look at the crazy embellishment. I used waves because that's the project I'm going to be doing at the end, is an oceanic kind of theme project. It pulls off very easily. And again, just laying it onto the index card so that you can see. But again, look how flexible that stuff is. It's not gluing onto itself. That's a wonderful feature about this. And look at the beautiful embossed effect you can get. And finally, I'm showing here how to create embellishments using a stencil. Again, the stencil has to be an image in its entirety. Basically run the icing through the stencil, and you can get your own shapes here. And the little fairy fell off, so I'm just going to put that to the side. But look how beautiful. And again, because I'm using a spatula, I created areas where it's really thin and really thick, so it allows other colors to come through. You can use the spatula also to help you pull off these butterflies, but to be honest, all you need to do is pull back that silicone mat. They come off like butter. It's just a wonderful fresh technique that I don't think I've seen elsewhere, but it was fun to come across this one and share it with you. And again, look how small those butterflies are, and they just come right off, and I just put them in a little bin to use in future projects. These are stencils by Finnabar. They're gorgeous, drop dead gorgeous. I love them. And you can get those through Prima Marketing as well. I'm going to start on my project right now, and I'm going to be using the berries stencil that she created. And this is just me demoing how I got that effect with the angelfish on the blue background. It's basically a paint skin that's been stenciled. So I took some of the ruby icing and applied it through the stencil, and you'll see the effect. Again, always use one stroke direction. And look how beautiful that is. I mean, just clean and gorgeous. And then set aside to dry, and it'll be ready to use like an embellishment. This is, I'll be having a close-up of this in a minute, but that's how I created the stencil on a paint skin. And again, here's some extra icing, and I'm not going to waste it. So I'm going to bring back that butterfly index card that I always keep at the side of my desk, and I'm going to take off as much of that icing as it will allow me. As anyone knows in mixed media, the more layers, the better. So we'll see what that turns out to be in the future. So this is a close-up of the icing skin, paint skin that I did where I stenciled on top of it. I used an Instagram filter there to show you how well this skin allows for different gradients in thickness so that you can create amazing effects. I love how the light filters down into the water using the Instagram filter. You can see it better. Always leave the silver lining on your products. It helps retain some of the moisture. It won't let your paints dry out as fast. I always leave mine on. So that's a little tip that has helped me make my supplies last. Now we're going back to the dragonfly wings, and again I trimmed them with scissors, and I started applying some of that Prima wax onto it. I'll give it a close-up so you can see. It's the green brocade, and I'm just applying it with my fingers. Put as much or as little as you want. And here's a close-up of those wings. How beautiful are those? Just crazy gorgeous. Another thing you can do with the paint skins or the icing skins is run it through your die cut machine, just like you would paper. I love this because with the vintage gold or the white gold, it almost looks like jewelry. And by the way, this is a memory box die set. And look how beautiful she is. She looks like she's poured gold. It just amazes me. And the detail, it didn't, hack it to death or anything. So this is the mother of pearl. Again, another gorgeous color. And I'm working on a little project here. It's just to show you how to use the product and how you can put it all together. I'm trying to line it up on a lid for a box. This is a paper mache box, so there's a little bit of a dip in the lid. So to no fault of the stencil or the paste, there is a little bleed, but so little. And you can just touch it up with a little black marker and no one will ever know. Again, I'm just using one stroke, going downwards to avoid any seepage. But again, because there's a dip in the lid, just a slight dip, it makes it a little bit rougher to get a clean pull. But for the most part, it was, I really liked the way it did pull back from the lid. How gorgeous is that? I mean, that stencil is just beautiful. And to be honest, a few minutes had passed by and I was like, you know what? I can use this as glue because that's what you can do with these kind of paints. And so I started laying down my my embellished paints icing skin and folding it to the box and letting the icing also act as a glue, which will also give it a little bit of an embedded look. So it'll sit into the berry stencil a little bit more, which I like. And again, this project is just to show you how to pull all these effects together. Just making sure everything's glued down. And there you have both paint skins that we did, the texturized ones, now placed onto the project. And I love the koi one because I pushed it down enough so some of that white icing came up through it. And you'll see when I put on this this gold, oh, first of all, let me show you this. This is a mermaid's tail I made using a silicone mold, but the technique is one video back in the Mixed Media Mania video. I show you how to make that with pouring medium. So I really had fun with these little jars. I don't know what was going on, but I could not keep a grip on it. This is metallic wax vintage gold that I'm going to apply to the raised areas of the koi scales and the wave that we embossed earlier. And at this point, I let everything dry before I put on the wax gold. Otherwise, you'll end up with a mess, so don't do that. So I'm just applying it the way that, you know, I feel like it created a lot of dimension. I'll be bringing it up to the camera so you can really get a close-up look at it. And just look at that. I just love the way the light plays with all the colors. It's just one of the most beautiful products I've ever worked with. And that koi effect is just, I just had so many ideas to what I want to do afterwards. And sometimes, you know, it's okay just to test stuff out on something in your craft room just to get used to it, see what it'll do. And this is basically what this box is. You know, I'm playing with it. I'm trying to see what, how the stencil paste or the icing paste raises up through the open areas. I want to see how it folds. I want to see how it takes on other products. So sometimes in your craft room, just have fun. Don't worry about what the final product is going to look like. And there's that lid again. I have no idea what was going on. I think it's haunted. And then I'm just taking some glue and attaching the mermaid tail as the final piece to this lid. I'll definitely be going back and adding some stenciling to the side of the lid and finishing it all up, but this is just, again, to give you an idea. And by the way, in that mermaid's tail, they're teeny tiny little embedded seashells. Pouring medium is an amazing product as well. And again, it's on one of my, it's on the Mixed Media Mania video that I have up. So I like how the berries gave me a seaweed effect and kind of tied everything together. I'm just applying it to the box so you can see that that's what I was trying to create. And look how gorgeous, you know, just each piece. Look how beautiful the colors are, how they pop. And that's all that icing. So I hope you enjoyed this video and this art adventure that we were on. Again, this was my process of how I deal with new products and how I run them through and test them. And again, sometimes when you're in your craft room, that's what it's all about. It's just having fun, playing, seeing what different things can do. It doesn't have to be a perfect finished product every time. So have a great day, and thanks again. Don't forget to subscribe and like and leave a comment if this helped you.